I'm scared. First time in a long time that I've done a morning stream. Yeah. All right. It has been a while. That it has been. Okay. All right. I figured this might be as good a way as any to just kind of come back to streaming casually. We'll see. We'll see. I plan to I plan to stream from now until about lunchtime for me. So this might actually be another 1.5 hour stream. But you know, it's not for 100% certain. Here's what I'm gonna do. I need to pull up some of the stuff that I wanted to look at. Oh wait, right. I had this. There we go. That's the thing. Then what? Yes. From. Uh, yes. Oh boy. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be real good. I don't know what news article I should go to. Where should I go for this? Hello. Doing a stream considerably earlier today. Just cause, you know, part of that whole little bit more flexible schedule sort of thing. USA Today. Let's see what's up. Um, I want to pull up all the new stuff before I start racing. Uh, that would be good. At least all the new stuff that I had thought of. I'm driving on a bus net right now, so my internet is kind of bad. Yeah, no problem, no problem. I gotcha. Let's see. Let me also look up the terrorist attack. Where's some news articles about this? Well, oh goodness. Maybe the Washington Post. What we know about the Moscow concert terror attack. Sure. That sounds good, I guess. Yeah, I did. That's what I'm looking up right now, just to have a news article ready to go for it. I have some thoughts on it because there have been some pretty crazy takes on it, both on the pro-Russia and anti-Russia side of things. Funnily enough, I'm the enlightened centrist in this situation, it seems. Uh, and then where is it? See how badly the Russians beat up those terrorists? Yeah, I saw that they got beat up pretty bad in the news articles that I looked up. They're like, yeah, they got dragged into the court and they looked like they had been gotten the shit beaten out of them, which I guess on one level is like, I mean, that's obviously pretty bad, but also there are two mitigating factors. That first of all, these people kind of blew up a concert hall, which is not good. You know, you kind of you know, don't talk shit if you're not prepared to get hit. And then I also saw that like the Russia called in the Spetsnaz to deal with it. So that's kind of that's what you're gonna get with Spetsnaz. Russia is blaming Ukraine. Ukraine is blaming Russia. USA is blaming ISIS. ISIS is blaming ISIS. Every Muslim is banning the US. Uh, yeah, that's a pretty good encapsulation of the sort of blame game that's being played around this. Now, of course, I think that the United States and ISIS are both correct to say ISIS did this, because ISIS, the Islamic State, is not the terror group that it used to be. I also watched a video of one of those terrorists getting his ear cut off and fed to him. Gross. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Yeah, I know, like, Islamist terrorists be on some different shit, but, like, that's inhumane as fuck. Anyways, I guess if I just want to start with that concert hall terror attack. ISIS claimed responsibility pretty quickly, and it fits, I guess it fits their MO for some other stuff, I guess. I don't know. Like, obviously, any given intelligence actor in this situation I don't necessarily trust, but ISIS is kind of like this loose network of Islamist militias. They've kind of become that ever since they got BTFO'd out of the Middle East. You know, they don't have that much of a presence there in a territorial sense, so it's like a loose network of Islamist militias that contact each other and that well, do various acts of terrorism and skullduggery. I also think ISIS-K did it. Yeah, that's right. ISIS-K is like that's a different thing. Like, well, it's part of that network, but yeah. So from that perspective, it's pretty open and shut as to like who did it. Why they did it is I think there were some Caucasian separatist movements that are pretty active in Russia, as well as I believe like I don't know, Central Asian nationalism, stuff like that. Russia is not the most stable. Like Putin and the current government are holding things together a decent amount. Syria also, yeah, that's right. But there are autonomous regions, oblasts, and whatever in the Caucasus region, in Central Asia, and whatever that are predominantly Muslim. Currently, there are no Caucasian separatists in Russia. You are wrong. There were Caucasian separatists in the ranks of the terrorists that committed this attack. There are Dagestani and Circassian and Chechen separatist groups currently active in Russia. The problem is sometimes they can't really be very vocal about being active because otherwise they would get BTFO'd by the Spetsnaz. So that's what's up. That region of Russia has you know, a significant Muslim population, so that's how you get terror attacks like this. But I wanted to, now that I've established kind of how this has all happened, that there is Islamist movement in some places in Russia that is I guess in some ways feeding off of or like, well, maybe not feeding off of, but like it intersects with some separatist movements in Russia, and that's how this attack happened. You know, ISIS took responsibility, so it was, you know, I guess that was them. The other takes on this are, number one, that it was a false flag. No. Or I want to explore those alternate takes on things. So, like, some people on the very anti-Russia side of things have floated the idea that, oh, this attack was a false flag for Putin to, like, gain sympathy from the international community or something like that. He has no objection to killing his own people and whatever. There's no evidence that this was a false flag. And, in fact, the severity and scope and, like, destruction of this attack, as well as the fact that, like, this attack happening makes Putin look kind of weak, makes me think that it is not a false flag. Because usually when Russia does, like, a false flag attack, you can tell. You can really tell. I don't know if you guys remember, but a little while back, there was a false flag in Moscow also. That was like a drone attack. They were like, oh no, Ukraine struck struck our capital with one of their drones, and it was just like a one lone drone flying in Russian airspace that like crashed into a building, and there was like no meaningful damage. Riding through a forest right now, so much lag. That's alright. Look, all this stuff is going to be uploaded to YouTube. It's going to be available on the VODs page later. If you need to go back and catch something you missed, you know, don't worry about it. So there was that pretty blatant false flag attack by Russia with the one drone thing in Moscow. But this is not that. This is a very real terror attack where many civilians died, and it wasn't just some minor damage to the side of, like, an apartment building. You know? So that's that dispelled. Also, Putin is relatively secure in his seat of power. He literally just had his main political rival killed. I don't think he would need to do a false flag from, like, a political calculus perspective. Russia shelled some apartment buildings so they could attack the Chechens. Yeah, that's more characteristic of like, the Russian false flag stuff. Not, like, optimally calculated, maximum casualty terror attack on a, like, concert hall stuff. You know? But then the other perspective, the what I've seen some pro-Russia people say is that this was the Ukrainians, that the Ukrainians orchestrated this terror attack, that, like, this was done by pro-Ukraine groups at the behest of, like, the Ukrainian government or something. And while that one's a little bit more plausible, there's no evidence for that either. I mean, I think there was a statement released by a Ukrainian intelligence official that looked pretty bad, because it's like, oh, well, you know, that's what you get when you invade a neighboring country, even though that, like, had nothing really to do with the Ukrainian, like, the invasion of Ukraine and stuff like that. It's kind of goofy. All the evidence that we have right now points to I think the least complicated, like, least convoluted explanation. Hello, welcome back, Dave Motel. Which is just that, like, did you get a haircut? I did. Yeah. But yeah, all the evidence we have with regards to this terror attack in Moscow points to what I think is the like, Occam's razor, don't overcomplicate it explanation, which is that, you know, the ISIS, like, ISIS-K or whatever branch of ISIS was active in Russia, committed this terror attack, and then claimed responsibility for it, and that's just kind of how this stuff works. You know, and I don't know if there's a whole lot more to it. It's part of ongoing, like, political instability in Russia, separatist movements, etc., etc. You know. In fact, I don't know if this attack even has very significant implications for the political situation in Russia, because it's like, what would Putin do? Use this as an excuse to be authoritarian? Like, he already is, right? Like, he's already doing that. I don't think he would need to, I don't think there's really anything about this attack in particular. I don't know. I think I've addressed what I need to address, more or less. And I have a feeling, I pulled up a Washington Post article about this. I might check that in a minute. I have a feeling that'll probably say the same things that I had to say about the matter. Even though, obviously, you know, for some American news outlets, I would advise to take it with like, a grain of salt, because the U.S. does have good intelligence. Like, we have very capable intelligence networks that can get really good information really quickly. But, like, they're still liable to exaggerate or embellish, or sometimes even just make shit up if it benefits the U.S., like, very directly. But, you know, This isn't one of those things that the US, I think, would really need to make up in order to do that. Gotta go slow on this section. They'll just bomb some Ukrainian cities. Yeah, I mean, I could see Russia kind of doing the typical song and dance of like, oh wow, can't believe Ukraine would do this or something. Although I think Russia even acknowledged that like this was ISIS that did this. They'll just go and be like, ah, well, you see, actually the real ISIS is in Ukraine, and they'll like bomb some Ukrainian cities. Yeah. And there's one thing that I wanted to highlight, because there were some people that were saying like, man, how could this have happened if Russia had such good security? That was one of the arguments I heard frequently invoked for the false flag thing. It's like, well, how did they even let this happen if they had such good security? They must have known that it was coming. No, it actually is not like that. I know there are some people that really don't want to hear this, but terrorism is just a thing that happens in a nation state, like in a society and stuff. Especially when you have a society that is authoritarian, like Russia in this case, that suppresses certain ethnic and national groups of people. Like that creates a lot of political tension, and that creates the motivation for terrorism. However much security you have, however many cavities the security guards strip search you for at the airport, terrorism is going to happen, because where there's a will, there's a way. And in Russia and in many countries, there is a will for people to commit terrorist actions for political movements. Zero terror attacks in Lithuania and Poland. Yeah, you know why that is? That's because in Lithuania and Poland, things are stable enough that people really don't have the motivation to commit terror attacks. Think about it. There's not a whole lot of significant separatist movements in Lithuania, in Poland. There's not a lot of religious extremist movements, at least not that would be unfriendly to the government there. I have no doubt that in Poland there are some like extreme right-wing Catholics, but the government is right-wing Catholic, or at least was for a very long time. There wouldn't be the motivation to commit terrorism in Lithuania or Poland, so it doesn't happen. But in Russia, where it's a very authoritarian government, multi-ethnic environment, where Putin is actively suppressing nationalist movements from other national identities that exist within Russia, there is a substantial reason for people to want to take political action against the government. And since Russia is an authoritarian state and suppresses many conventional means of political action, people resort to terrorism more, especially because the material situation in Russia is much more dire than that in Lithuania or in Poland. Lithuania and Poland are on average a little bit wealthier, or at least actually quite a bit wealthier than in Russia. Average income is higher. People aren't struggling as badly in Poland and Lithuania as they are in Russia right now. And that also contributes to this. So that's how this sort of thing happens, and that's why the constant focus on surveillance and ramping up security and all that is never going to prevent terrorism that would have otherwise happened. Yeah, but we have higher prices. Yeah, I know. That's part of being a developed country. The U.S. has higher prices than Poland or Lithuania, but our income level is also much higher. So there's not a lot of terrorism that happens in the United States. It still happens, but not very much. We have similar prices and your wages are several times bigger. Okay, then. It could also be the case that Lithuania is not as ethnically diverse as the United States, and there's less existing tension in Lithuania compared to the U.S. Because in the U.S., when you get ethnic diversity, you get far-right reactionary movements, a lot of them. And those far-right reactionary movements are kind of looking for excuses to do some skullduggery and shit. And so in the United States, they have a much more readily available excuse. In Lithuania, it's actually not as much. Granted, you've shown me, I think, some videos of far-right groups doing some very silly stuff, but not to the level that would amount to terrorism, necessarily. Largest ethnic minority here is Polish at 7%. Yeah, and that doesn't really strike me as something that would, like, create so much tension that people would, like, do suicide bombings over and stuff like that, or mass shootings or something like that. But in the United States, where there are double-digit percentages of quite vast, like, different groups of, racial minorities, ethnic minorities, immigrants, and stuff like that, right-wingers get very antsy and very, like, well, terrorist-y. Terroristic. There we go. Yeah, we soloed the suicide part. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that there's it's a mental health problem in the northern regions of Europe. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to I wanted to talk a little bit about that, just to understand the mechanics of how does terrorist sentiment arise, because there are predictable conditions that can that you can look at to see whether or not the political situation is likely to turn more violent in a given country. And those circumstances are a lot more present in Russia than in Lithuania, in Poland, or in the United States. We have the highest suicide rate in the world? That's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. We also have the happiest people in the world under 35. Happiness is kind of a dumb metric. Because like, how happy are people? That's a self-reported thing. When you go to the UN and they ask for, like, the statistics on how happy are people in a given country, that stuff is self-reported. People are liable to be wrong. So all the sad people kill themselves. I mean, that's part of it. And a much better metric of how good is life in a given country or in a given region is income and quality of life statistics regarding, like, I don't know, life expectancy, health, infant mortality, availability of medical care and certain public services, other stuff like that. South Korea passed us? That's not a good sign. Wait, in terms of what, I should ask? If it's in terms of suicide rate, then, I mean, actually, that's just not good for South Korea. That's comparatively, like, good for Lithuania, I guess? I don't know. South Korea is pretty fucked, so. I think the average work week in South Korea is something like 60 hours. It's absolutely bonkers. 18.6 per 100,000 persons. I'm guessing South Korea has more. And that would only make sense, given what you're saying here. South Korea is 25 per 100,000. That's a lot. Yikes. Keep going here. Tell you what, after this race, I think I'm going to look at the news article from Washington Post about that terror attack. And then I'll move on. I'll see what else is going on. You work hard for the world's best spot. I think you guys just need better mental health services, is what you need. And also, better, like, urban infrastructure and stuff like that. I mean, everybody needs that, but... +2. I'm gonna try to find another one. Should also look at the interrogation video. No, I'm not looking at the interrogation video. I would I already know what I'm gonna find there. I'm gonna find some like Russian fucking military Spetsnaz dudes roughing up some terrorists, like beating the absolute shit out of them. And it's gonna make me sad because it's like, damn, these people did some horrible, did some horrible shit, but they're still people, and these guys are just beating them up. No beatings there? Oh, okay, never mind then. So now I have the opportunity here. It's safe for work. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll look at it. Okay, so now in addition to the US and ISIS saying that it was ISIS, Russia is also saying that it was ISIS here in this Washington Post article. The assault on a sprawling shopping and entertainment venue on the outskirts of Moscow has shocked Russians, with large crowds laying thousands of flowers at the site of the attack over the weekend. And President Vladimir Putin's promising to exact justice for what he said was a cynically planned and barbaric terrorist attack. 4 suspects have been arrested, Putin said, and the Islamic State, also known as ISIS, has claimed responsibility for the attack. Okay. Oh, wait, no, this is just the Washington Post saying ISIS has claimed responsibility, intercut with some stuff that Putin has said. Okay. Facts. At least 137 people were killed. Not good. Link. Oh, never mind. No, Putin did not refer to the Islamic State during his Saturday address, despite its claim of responsibility, and instead asserted that the accused were moving towards Ukraine before they were caught, saying that a window was prepared for them from the Ukrainian side to cross the state border. Kyiv denied any involvement. So they might have been going to Ukraine, but the reason they were probably doing that is just because Ukraine was a not friendly, or is a not friendly country to Russia, given that they are at war. And that tends to be what happens. It's kind of like how Edward Snowden and I believe Julian Assange or whoever went and sought asylum in Russia. They weren't Russian agents or anything, but they knew that if they were in Russia, Russia's not very friendly to America, and that Russia wouldn't immediately want to, like, extradite them or something. That's probably what's going on here. Except, you know, Julian Assange and Edward Snowden did some good whistleblowing things, whereas these guys are responsible for a terror attack. A lot of the propaganda agents are blaming the CIA for the attack. That doesn't surprise me too much. Yeah, okay, like you said, it's ISIS-K. Yeah, wow, it's actually almost exactly what you said. ISIS-K was probably responsible for this, and then Russia said, yeah, let's go bomb Ukrainian cities about it, or something. Okay. Knew it? Yeah. Yeah, Russian propaganda tends to be pretty predictable. I have a mushroom in first. I guess I just try to hold on to this. I think the next thing I want to talk about is something that I saw from CBS 60 Minutes about immigration politics in America. So this don't know how familiar you would be with this, but I think it has some interesting subject matter. Probably suffering a fate worse than hell right now. What, the guys that committed the terror attack? Maybe. I mean, Russian prisons are not known to be especially humane. You know, if U.S. prisons are so bad, and then like Russia's are probably worse than that. Ow! Son of a... You see how scary it was in the interrogation footage? Okay. I still don't think I want to look at the interrogation footage. It wouldn't tell me anything that I don't already know. Flip was shaking so much. It tells a lot. Nothing that I don't know. Like, yeah, no shit. Russia mistreats prisoners and stuff. Like, it's not super surprising. How they were contacted? Well, no, I don't really care that much about that. Like, the small nitty-gritty and logistics of a terror attack are not of any particular interest to me. Because, like I said, I know how terror attacks like that happen. Where there's a will, there's a way. Why they did it? You know how much they were paid for that attack? It's literally not relevant. How much they were paid is not relevant to the political implications of that attack. Why they did it might be of more interest. $10,000? I mean, that's a lot in Russia. Let's see. Imagine killing 130 people for 10,000. I mean, these guys did it. I don't think you need to imagine that hard. Moscow terror attack. Motivations? Maybe? Why would the Islamic State attack Russia? What would Putin's response be? $76. Oh, per person. Yeah, no, that's not a lot. Huh. Well, for ideological motivations like terrorism, I don't think you would need all that much money to convince people. Like I said, if there's like if it is what I think it is, that there was separatism and like political motivations behind this attack, that they really didn't like Putin's government for one reason or another, that's going to be a strong enough motivation to basically overlook any monetary gain you could have from this. You know, it probably the only concern for money, as far as money goes for them, would be like, how do we get enough money to do the attack, right? Ow. Most of them weren't even from Russia. That's probably that probably plays into their political motivations. Yeah, no, wait. I do remember. I saw one of the suspects, or like the people who allegedly did the attack, was like a hairdresser, like a barber or something, living in Moscow, but was from Tajikistan? One of those Central Asian countries, like one of the stans. Which makes sense. Tajikistan, yes. Yeah, a lot of those countries, you know, despite them being independent, they still have a lot of, like, Russia still has a lot of influence over them, and maybe that has something to do with it. You know, because, like, there's Russian aligned governments and stuff in those countries, and they might not like that very much, for like I said, for one reason or another. Dang. 4th place. Okay. Guardian, what's up? What do you got for me? Why would the Islamic State attack Russia? Good question. Islamic State leaders have long seen attacks against distant targets as an integral part of their extremist projects. Such operations, when successful, terrorize their enemies, but also mobilize existing supporters and attract new ones. Okay, so it's like the operating as usual kind of thing for the Islamic State to do an attack like this, which makes sense, I guess. Often targets are determined by what resources are available. Okay, so that's why the concert hall, just because they could, you know, like the best available target for them. In the past 18 months, here we go. This is probably the main motivation relevant to this case. The Islamic State has made a concerted effort to recruit Central Asian militants through its Afghan branch known as the Islamic State Khorasan Province, ISKP. ISIS also claims credit for a lot of attacks they don't do. Yeah, that's true. But with the pattern of the Islamic State recruiting a lot of Central Asian militants, this really does fit the bill. Like, I don't know who else it could be. Unless there's, like, another militant group operating out of, like, the Caucasus or someplace. So I feel like in this case, it's like a process of elimination thing, and, like, really it could... I think ISIS is the only reasonable guess here. I think I've learned quite a bit about this track the past several times I've played. Dude, as fucked up as it is to sound, as it sounds to say, rather, a lot of times I feel like ISIS, like, in the whole, like, terrorism sort of, I don't know, vein of political action, ISIS is really just playing for a love of the game, if that makes sense. They're just doing terrorism because, like, fuck yeah, I love terrorism, I guess. You know? Very, very weird, because, like, the you know, their stated goal, at least from back in the day when I remember first learning about them, was like, yeah, we want to make the caliphate, or whatever, the Islamic Caliphate. Something like that. But they'll just be saying, like, yep, we did that, we did that, we did that. Also, we did all of these attacks. Some of them are attacks that they actually didn't do, but they're just like, yes, we just do terrorist attacks. That's what we do. It's like, damn, alright. That was my own fake item box, wasn't it? God damn it. Please hit. Yes! He hit the green shell! I'm kind of in the clear, like, maybe a little bit. Alright. A lot of Muslims, from what I saw, say it's the CIA wanting to make Muslims look bad. I think that is wrong, and I think that also does a disservice to Muslims. Muslims, if you're not ISIS, you can just say so, and, like, we'll get it. The world isn't a fucking, like, the world isn't as Islamophobic a place as it was immediate post 9/11. And some Israelis are on TikTok blaming Hamas. Of course they are. Israelis fucking... They would stub their toe and blame it on Hamas. That's how brain poisoned they are by bullshit. That's like when you see fucking Christian nationalists go and shoot up a school because, I don't know, the white race is being replaced by Mexicans or some shit. Mexicans who are also Christian, by the way. And then, like, what, people are going to look at that and say all Christianity is bad? No. Like, of course, there's a little bit more of a current of Islamophobia than than like anti-Christian sentiment, because Christianity is the majority religion in like the wealthiest countries in the world. But people generally understand in both cases, like, just because a fucking far-right extremist religious group did this terror attack is not like representative of that religion, you know? There are 2 billion Muslims in the world. They're not like, and people know that they're not that. Just realized I wasn't connected to Bluetooth to my earbuds, so I was blasting the whole bus with your stream this whole time. Well, I hope they found it entertaining. Got him! Oh, shit. Ah, he's still, Oh, they were bumping into each other. Dang. That part is hard. Alright. I now enter the dilemma where I do not have red shell protection. Yeah, okay. I've slowed down just a tiny bit so I could hit the ramp once I got hit by the red shell. I think I need to use this. I know it's very possible a blue shell will come, but right now I much more badly need the red shell protection. Ow. Didn't mean to throw that forward. Those are red shells, huh? Ow. I see. The item, thank you. Ah, a bomb. I see. I tried to be really mean. He's gonna throw one of those, probably? Yeah. Oh, no! Oh, did we both fuck up? Oh, no, he got it. He got it. Okay. It would have been really funny if both of us fucked that up. Okay. Ah, okay. So there's the added benefit. You know, I was saying that, like, from this article, it said that ISIS was recruiting specifically from Central Asian countries. Being Russian-speaking or even Russian nationals, a lot of the recruits can easily reach a target in Moscow, offering multiple new opportunities for attacks. Okay, so that's why. Russia has been in the crosshairs of ISIS for many years. Their leaders, like many Islamic militants, are mindful of Russian support for the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. A key point made by ISIS propaganda from Pakistan to Nigeria is that Moscow is part of the broader coalition of Christian or Western forces engaged in the existential 1400-year-old battle against Islam. ISIS statements claiming responsibility for the attack boasted of killing Christians. Okay, so all pretty typical of ISIS and makes sense for their ideological motivations. You know, with Assad in Syria, you might be wondering, like, why do they not like Assad? Assad is a fucking brutal dictator who kills civilians. They love that. But they don't like the fact that he's secular. Assad is more of like a secular dictator. It doesn't really have that much of a agenda with regards to religion. Or hell, he could even just be not the right kind of Muslim and they still wouldn't like him. There's even, like, in Morocco, I remember last time I was there, a lot of tankies love Assad. Yeah, that's right. Tankies really do like him. I remember the last time I was in Morocco, what limited political discussion we had, which, you know, obviously had to be limited because Morocco is an authoritarian country. The reason, like, Morocco is a Muslim country. It has a state religion, and that religion is Sunni Islam, right? It's pretty typical for countries in the region. Majority Muslim countries will have Islam as the state religion and stuff. But as it turns out, the monarchy and the monarchist, like the center party and whatever, were like the moderates in Morocco, because apparently Morocco is actually having its own problem with far-right Islamist extremists, and a lot of times the way that the king and sometimes the way that the king's government garners support for themselves is saying like, hey, we are currently guarding from the influence of this far-right Islamist extremism, and you don't want, Islamist extremists to be running things, do you? Basically they appeal to people like not liking ISIS, because believe it or not, Muslims don't like ISIS either. So, just the most fringe of the fringe is ISIS in this scenario, Ow. I got another mushroom? Huh. Gotta hold these, then I'm good. Nice. Cool. Next race. These are some good races. I'm not gonna gain any VR or anything, but obviously that's not a concern for me. I think I've said all I want to say on the Russian terror attack. I might even make that a segment. Let's see. Now I'm gonna move on. Move on to something else, which is 60 minutes short form news. This was just a Twitter post from 60 Minutes, which is part of CBS News. So Mexico, it turns out, has been up to some interesting stuff. President of Mexico has a proposal for stemming immigration, and that includes the U.S. committing $20 billion a year to poor countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, lifting sanctions on Venezuela, ending the Cuban embargo, and legalizing law-abiding Mexicans living in the United States. This is a big deal. This is a big deal, I think, because, you might be asking, well, like, Mexico's just another Latin American country, right? Wrong. Yes, it is a Latin American country, but it's also an American ally. The United States has a much closer allyship and partnership with Mexico than it does with countries like, say, Brazil, which, the U.S. is also on pretty good terms with, all things considered. It's been a little while since we've tried to coup their government. You know what I mean? Since this proposal is coming from Mexico, I didn't realize where I was supposed to go there. Since this proposal is coming from Mexico, which is part of the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement, the Canada-US-Mexico bloc, the CUM bloc even, the U.S. is going to take this more seriously, and Joe Biden is going to take this more seriously. He's spoken positively of AMLO, the president of Mexico, in the past. Although I don't dare be too optimistic, this could be a route to actually fixing the immigration issue in the Americas. Now, like, obviously I don't like, part of me, obviously doesn't like the framing of this as, like, how do you stop immigration? Because you're not going to stop immigration, right? And then also, like, I don't think immigration is something you want to stop, because it's really good for the U.S. economy. But this is a very real set of policies that would fix very real problems that are forcing people to need to leave their home countries in the first place. People generally don't want to just abandon their homes and, like, go thousands of miles to a country they've never been to before. You know, it's generally not, it's not preferable. So that'd be good if that were fixed. Oh, dude, it's Stoic. This guy that looks like Tim Pool. Oh, almost. Uh, this would also fix a lot of the problems in Cuba and Venezuela. Uh, I'll talk about Venezuela and then Cuba, I think. Venezuela right now is really struggling with their economy, and as a result, Maduro has actually managed to maintain power for quite a long time because he's able to, like, keep things together, relatively speaking, under otherwise very dire economic circumstances, and that's preventing things from changing. What would help things change is if the United States stopped sanctioning Venezuela. If we normalized economic relations with them, then it would put a little bit more political pressure on Maduro and his government to open up in terms of civic policy to become less authoritarian. And if not, then he risks getting ousted and being replaced with a less authoritarian figure. You know, this would represent a significant change in American foreign policy with regards to, I think, Latin America, where we're not as willing to just use sanctions right away, because sanctions destroy a fucking country. You know, like, sanctions are not a good idea from the perspective of, like, encouraging certain behaviors. All sanctions do is wreak havoc. And like, sure, that can sort of send a message to the government, but, like, what did Venezuela even do? Venezuela didn't do anything to warrant sanctions, really, except, I don't know, be authoritarian. That doesn't merit sanctions on its own. You know, the U.S. is on good terms with plenty of authoritarian governments. You know what? They refused to sell us oil? Maybe we should have put up the money to buy their oil, or just fucking deal with the fact that in the free marketplace of the global economy, they didn't want to sell us their oil. You know? Kind of a skill issue on America's part, gotta say. I could have so easily hit Stoic, but I think if I bumped into him, I would have fallen off, and that would have been good. Would have been bad for me. So, ow! No, fucking car drove right up to me. Okay. Damn it! I'm driving so bad right now. I've historically had trouble with this track. No! I was gonna use that. Dang. It's okay, there's still one more lap, and first is not that far ahead. Here, really trying not to run into that guy. I don't want to be more of a dick than I have to be in this race. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Neat. Oh, no. Give me item. Yay. Oh, mushroom. Take that. Oh, I know this guy. I think I remember Kopu from another worldwide. Oh, that was such good use of that mushroom. I drove really good at the ending. That ending, I think I drove as well as I could have. Yay. Next race. Hey, we got a decent sized room. Now with Cuba, there was something I wanted to mention with Cuba as well, and it's going to be kind of similar. The U.S. embargoed Cuba, I think, back in the 1960s, 50s or 60s, when Dave Batista, not Dave Batista. Hold on. Why is there so many forests in my country? It's a very foresty area. No, not Dave Bautista's the actor. Fuck me. Fulgencio Batista. There we go. Time to chop him down. Hey, don't repeat the fucking failed experiments of the 19th century, buckaroo. Fulgencio Batista was the dictator of Cuba before Fidel Castro came to power. And then the revolution happened, ousted Batista, who was friendly to the United States, put in Castro, who was very critical of the United States, and also a socialist, although he had problems. He did some very authoritarian stuff. The U.S. decided, that's it, we're embargoing your country. And a lot of the West did as well. A lot of the Western countries embargoed Cuba for quite a while. Since then, most Western countries have lifted the embargo on Cuba, but America has not. And as a result of the widespread embargoes for like a very long time, Cuba has been like, the Cuban economy has been decimated. It's genuinely, I think Cuba is actually one of the greatest success stories of socialism for how well they've held up in the face of the biggest like embargo package in the world, probably. You know? And like, let's be real, that's far enough in the past. It's beyond time for the United States to stop embargoing Cuba, stop starving them out. That was literally the objective of the embargo, as stated by, I think, the Kennedy administration, was to starve out Cuba until they did regime change, or else we would do it for them. And then we tried to do it for them anyways, and fucked up several times, in fact. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, did he fall off? He did. Huh. You see the vote to end the embargo on Cuba by whole world versus USA? Yeah, and it's been like that actually for several years. Every now and then there's a like vote at the UN like, hey, let's end the embargo on Cuba finally. You know, that'd be good. And every time it's like every country votes yes, end the embargo, and then the US votes no. Ah, he got me. But yeah, this now like this economic package, this proposal that Mexico is suggesting that like, hey, if you want to actually address the issue of there being so much immigration here, this is what you need to do. Ending the embargo on Cuba would be actually a really good option, especially because this is just from a more ideological perspective. A lot of the Cubans that emigrate from Cuba to the United States, the Gusanos, as other Cubans call them, are very right-wing and are, like, disproportionately, they're the people that have the money to just decide to leave, you know? Like, leaving a country requires a lot of commitment, both financially and, like, I don't know, emotionally on a certain level, you know? And, you know, people can't always just do that. So you know, the people that do leave are the people that can afford to, and the people that can afford to usually are like middle class, upper middle class, or even wealthy Cubans, and that tends to be the more right wing of them, and so they like, you know, that on one level that's not good for politics in the United States, just strictly speaking. But, you know, more concerning is just the fact that, like, life continues to be really bad in Cuba as a result of the embargo, and it's beyond time that it's gone. Uh, God, imagine if Cuba did not have that embargo, how beneficial they would be to the world. They are already, like, their main export in terms of labor is doctors. They have such a good like healthcare industry, and they even, I think, manufactured their own COVID vaccine independent of the United States, because the United States literally wouldn't sell COVID vaccines to Cuba. And so they're like, fine, we'll make it ourselves and we'll give it away for free. Which is base as fuck. But anyways, all this stuff would fix the immigration problem, or at least it would put a very big dent in the problem, because when countries have money, they tend to stabilize. You know, the factors that drive people to leave their home country to try to find a home elsewhere have to be very dire. And when things are less dire, people are much less predisposed to leave. So, you know, that would fix the issue. That'd be good. Less law-abiding Mexicans living in the United States. This one as well. This one doesn't get talked about enough. It's very weird that the United States just goes like fucking sniffing for people to deport. It's very bizarre and very authoritarian. Like, if you're living in the United States, you have to pay taxes to the United States. You have to follow American law. And if you're not a citizen, then there are certain things that you're not allowed to do. It's just like any other country, like in Europe, you know? If you're like a resident but not a citizen. So that would be good, just to normalize the fucking, like, yeah, I mean, you know, if you're a Mexican living in the United States and you don't have, like, American citizenship, like, that's fine. I didn't realize there was a gap there. Oh, dude, Sushi Kong? He's on the Wario bike, based. Please don't hurt me. Damn it. Ow. Holy... What in the... You know what? It worked out. Fuck it. No! I got shocked. Dang it. Oh well, I'm gonna get Nick soon enough. Yeah. Senor Frog is in... I see. I'm gonna use this here. Yeah. Actually gained me some ground, which is surprising. Very wacky spot to use a mushroom, but not bad, I guess. I don't know what happened there. Ow! Damn it. Give me that mushroom. Okay, wacky. Very wacky turn. That worked out. Very weird again. Oh! Wow, that was such a specific target shock. I can't believe they got him in that little crevice. Alright. Okay, did that section correctly this time. Okay, that works. Actually got the low trick. Oh no, but I hit the dirt. Is there a blue shell coming? No. Ah, but somebody's taking the shortcut. I see. Lucky for me, I have red shell protection, I think. I cannot believe I outlined that guy at the end. That's the power of holding a green shell behind you. You just outline people for free. God damn. Probably go for another 25 minutes. This will probably be another 1 hour and a half stream, because then I gotta get lunch. This is a good room. This is a really good room. What else did I want to talk about? Ah, yes. Okay. I gotta talk about it. I gotta talk about this. So, the UN, the main object of politics at the UN has been, for some time now, we need a resolution to do a ceasefire in Gaza so that Israel stops bombing the shit out of like, civilians. You know, that would be good. Pretty good when you don't bomb civilians, when there's not a genocide happening. That's good. But it's bad that Israel's doing the genocide and stuff. So, there have been a couple ceasefire resolutions that the U.S. vetoed, and then there was one ceasefire resolution from the U.S. that China and Russia vetoed. But the details are, you know, this is more than it seems, right? This is not like, oh, the U.S. wants to be the good guy for once. No. So, the UN Security Council did not pass this draft resolution because Russia, China, and Algeria voted against it, and the language of the ceasefire, supposed ceasefire resolution, I should say, from the United States was bizarre because, as Al Jazeera points out, the resolution itself did not contain the words ceasefire in it, at least not like the immediate and permanent ceasefire that is like the standard of political discussion. That was not part of this resolution. And this resolution, in addition to not doing that, was basically just like, it meant to fail. Like, this was designed to fail. It included, as part of the, yeah, we want a ceasefire text, do you condemn Hamas? This would condemn Hamas or whatever. Like, they literally did the fucking, yeah, genocide, whatever, but do you condemn Hamas? Like, they did the meme. They just did the fucking meme. Damn, there's a battle up here. This basically, this was a, this was effectively like a green light for Israel, disguised as, like, very loosely disguised as a ceasefire resolution. Because in addition to being like, yeah, it would condemn Hamas, this package also, as part of its thing, would have necessitated the unconditional and immediate release of every single hostage, which obviously is good, but like, you can't just do that without any sort of assurances that Israel won't keep bombing civilians, right? You know, if this is a humanitarian crisis, you have to be willing to engage with both, like, groups of civilians in the crisis. To use, like, the United States' framing. Because obviously it's a genocide, but it's also humanitarian shit. Look, let me just read from the article. Russia and China both exercised their veto against the resolution, which would have spoken of the imperative of an immediate and sustained ceasefire. Those are weasel words. You see, it's not actually calling for an immediate and sustained ceasefire. It just says, like, yeah, maybe we should do this. And condemn the October 7th attack by Hamas. So way to hand Russia and China an opportunity to look good. Moscow accused Washington of a hypocritical spectacle that does not pressure Israel. And they're right. It doesn't put any pressure on Israel. Russia's ambassador to the UN said the draft was exceedingly politicized and contained an effective green light for Israel to mount a military operation in Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, where more than 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering. That's more than half the Gaza population. The ambassador, Nebenzia, said there was no call for a ceasefire in the resolution's text and accused the U.S. leadership of deliberately misleading the international community. China's representative, Zhang Jun, said the draft dodged the most central issue, that of a ceasefire, through its ambiguous language. Nor does it even provide an answer to the question of realizing a ceasefire in the short term, he added. So this was like a red herring. This resolution was a red herring from the United States. And to address the obvious, no, I'm obviously not saying that Russia or China care about civilians and stuff in the Gaza Strip. Of course they don't. This is geopolitics. No country actually cares about that. What they care about is making the U.S. look bad because they know that this is bad. Like, this is a bad thing that the U.S. is doing. And, like, goddamn, are they ever good at making us look bad because they have our help in doing so. You know? You have a banana? No, I missed the trick. Yes. You know what? I'm actually fine with Stoic being in first. I'm going to throw this red shell backwards. Because I have blue shell protection in the form of the guy in front of me. Ah, I see. I'm a little bit closer now. I don't have red shell protection in. Okay, now I have red shell protection. It'll be fine if there's no blue shell too, if he just gets first. I'm okay with taking second. Be kind of weird though. No. Oh, I got him. Okay. Sorry, Koku. My bad driving was your downfall there. It seems. No blue shells, I guess. Damn, that was kind of a wacky race. In the sense that, like, this is a long track, you know, 2 minutes 40, and no blue shells. Okay. 11 players next race. Full room. Good. Yeah, here we go. For third-party corroboration, Al Jazeera's diplomatic correspondent says it says there's that it's important there's a ceasefire. It doesn't seem to be demanding one. From let's see, James Bays. Sounds like he might be English or American or something. He had obtained a copy of the draft resolution. So, guy who actually had the opportunity to read it as well said, like, yeah, no, this doesn't actually call for a ceasefire. It just says, yeah, ceasefire is important. We're not going to do one, though. We're not going to do one being the implication, not necessarily the direct text. So, you know, it seems like the worst of all possible outcomes might happen, which would suck a lot. For my own, that's funny psychedelic track, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm in first. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Oh no, they took my box. Damn. I don't have an item. I do now. I'm just gonna use it. Okay. I'm glad I got shocked there and not, like, somewhere worse. That'd be good if I didn't get shocked somewhere worse. It's preferable. But if you know what's good for you. Okay. He didn't know what was good for him, but he found out nonetheless. I'm just gonna throw this back, put this back as well. Weird, but it worked. That's kind of wild that that red shell pursued me all the way. I'm okay with third, I think. Ow. I believe I may have just hit my own banana. Ah. Let's see. Okay. Good race. Good race. Alright, that's enough about that. Ceasefire stuff. It's pretty evident that a ceasefire is not going to happen. Which is unfortunate. It's like we just have to kind of watch another genocide unfold. You know, it will be interesting though to kind of see what direction geopolitics takes after this, because as fucking grim as it sounds, the genocides in especially in the more developed world tend to be turning points in geopolitics where the way in which countries assert their interests and engage with each other changes, sometimes slightly, sometimes more drastically. You think about the Armenian genocide during World War One and after. That was coincided with a pretty significant shift from the pre-World War One very hawkish nationalist sort of border politic where countries would like go to war over territory to the sort of League of Nations style of international relations, and then when that failed, the Second World War happened, and after the Holocaust, it changed to a little bit more of what we would see now, but still a little bit different. That was sort of the days of like NATO's most significant influence, and then like the sort of central intelligence kind of geopolitic and engagement to that effect. And then after, I think the Yugoslav ethnic cleansing or something like that was when things started to change a little bit more towards the or not after, but like coinciding with Yugoslav ethnic cleansing, things started to change towards what we would now see. Look, it's complicated. I can't really boil it down to just that, but there does definitely seem to be a pattern of like geopolitics changing in time with genocides. So I don't know exactly what it's going to change into after this is done, but I have a feeling it is going to change into something else. Did I hit somebody? No. Oh, that's a trickable thing? Interesting. Oh no! Senor Frog took that. I'm trying to stay out of your way, bro. Okay. Okay, whew. Outlined him. No! He's gonna get that mushroom. Yeah, that's fine. I actually don't want to get rid of this mushroom, I think. But I have to. Whoa, okay. What is going on? How did I end up in first? Was that Pow just fucking genius? I think that shock actually helps me. Yeah. Because nobody's gonna have an item. Damn. Okay. Both players. I will do 2 more races. I'll commit to doing 2 more races. Just in time for me to talk about something that I predicted. So, this is from a few days ago, but from the Associated Press. House Speaker Mike Johnson faces threat of ouster from Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. So it begins. I've been predicting this for a while. when Kevin McCarthy became the House Speaker, it was under very tenuous circumstances. There were a lot of compromises he had to make with the far right. And then about 9 months in, the far right really wasn't happy with him. So they, along with all the Democrats, by the way, ousted him from the speakership after just 9 months. And then Mike Johnson became speaker, again, under very tenuous circumstances. The Republicans had to go through several speakership votes before they could actually get somebody in there. And it was Mike Johnson. But, again, since that was under tenuous circumstances, in some ways even more so than the last time, I had a feeling, and I was comfortable predicting, that it was going to happen again, where he was going to be ousted again, and even sooner than Kevin McCarthy. And so that's what this article seems to suggest here. That he might be ousted kind of soon. But let's get through this race, and then I'll look at the details. In fact, actually, yeah. I was going to say maybe this would be the last one, but I said I would commit to doing 2 more, so this will be 1 of 2. How convenient. That box left for me. Check me out. Well, I guess the bullet just kind of takes me through that turn, and why not? You can take first. You can take first. You can have it. Go. Yeah. What are you doing? Alright. I don't know what happened to him. Probably just outlined him, I guess? I don't know. Ah, somebody hit my back truck. 2 bananas? Pretty good set of items to have in first. Oh, wow. That shock was actually, well-timed, I think. Alright, let's try to pull together the last bit here. I might want to get an item. Definitely want to get an item. Wide. Yes! 3rd place. Pretty good ending. That was kind of a gamble. I didn't know if I was going to get something good in 5th, but I got exactly what I needed. Alright, now we're going to go on to the last race, and I'll talk about this news article. From DC. Speaker Mike Johnson is at risk of being ousted after far-right they say hard-right, but far-right Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene filed a motion to vacate Friday. His leadership abruptly challenged in the middle of a House vote on a $1.2 trillion budget package to keep the government open. It's the same political dynamic that removed the last Republican Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, just 5 months ago. Jesus, it's only been 5 months. When far-right conservatives revolted over his compromise with Democrats to prevent a federal shutdown. But this one faces steeper odds with less public GOP support at the moment. Oh, he's toast. He is so fucking cooked, dude. Am I good or what? Did I call this or did I call this? I mean, obviously we'll see if it, actually happens, but moving on. As the House left town for a 2-week spring recess with no imminent vote scheduled on removing the speaker, the punishing threat hangs over Johnson of Louisiana as the far-right flank once again seizes on the tactic, a disruptive tool used to make demands and leverage for their own priorities. We've started the clock to start the process to elect a new speaker, the Georgia Congresswoman said on the Capitol steps. Yeah. So last time the process was initiated by Matt Gaetz, and it only took 8 Republicans last time. So if she gets, and their margin now is actually even slimmer, because there was a Republican, I think, that has retired. There are some people, there were some special elections, 1 or 2 special elections that happened. It might be Jover for Mike Johnson. Which would be actually incredible. Not necessarily because, the opportunity for a Democratic speaker would be, that would be good, but like I think the real icing on the cake here is just that like Republicans are so incompetent that they can't get their own party leadership. Like they can't even do that much when they have a majority. God, I think this would be the first time where there would be like a Republican majority in the House of Representatives and a Democratic Speaker of the House. Which would be pretty wild. And I would love to see it personally. Mushroom? Pretty good. Now, of course, the reason that the Republicans are ousting Mike Johnson is purely petty and personal. See, the far right in the United States has, like, there's this dynamic with the far right in America, but also in other countries, where the center right, or the more conventional right wing, is very not populist, but they are proceduralists and they are competent understanding how government works and operating within that, right? As I'm saying this, I'm getting Mario Karted. But, and then the far right is actually very popular among the more right-leaning voter base, but they are incompetent. They're not good at operating government. So they are kind of ineffective at getting some of their own priorities pushed through and passed into legislative packages, So what needs to happen is those two wings of the right, those two parts of the right, need to work together in order to realize their own objectives. But as we're seeing here, there's a communications breakdown where the far right is sort of pushing on the center right, and as a result, bringing both of them down. Oh, good session. I'll quit out. Last time what happened was that, Kevin McCarthy was ousted because he compromised with Democrats. And now, same circumstances again, but Republicans are even more primed to not like Mike Johnson. So once Congress is back in session, shit, dude, we might see him gone. Which would be great. Yeah, look, here we go. This is later in the article. Matt Gaetz was among 8 Republicans who voted last October to remove McCarthy from California. Just 8 Republicans. And it wouldn't take as much this time. I think the Republican majority is only like 4 or 5 seats. It would only take like 3. With the help of all the Democrats who are not willing to cast votes to save the embattled speaker. That may be different this time. And Republican lawmakers fed up with the process would cross the aisle and vote for Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Or Democrats could cast their own votes to save Johnson. I think that they're going to get Hakeem Jeffries. They're going to try to support him. If we vacated the speaker, we'd end up with a Democrat, Gaetz predicted late Thursday. When I vacated the last one, I made a promise to the country that we would not end up with a Democrat speaker. I couldn't make that promise again today. Ooh. Now, you know, if you've been watching this channel, I have zero love for the Democratic Party at the federal level, and that includes Congress. There are certain politicians in Congress that I respect, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, etc. All those folks. But the party itself, I do not respect. However, one thing that I share in common with them is that both me and the Democratic Party want to see the Republican Party gone, downfall, out of the picture. And this is a great way to do that. If you can stoke the right-wing infighting at every possible opportunity, especially considering that the GOP is a fascist party, they are no longer a neoconservative party with fascist elements. They are now a fascist party with some neoconservative holdovers, like here and there. You probably have trouble counting them on 2 hands, even. they are burning through themselves. Fascism requires a lot of fervor and irrationality and like insanity to maintain, and they need to turn that outwards. Otherwise, they start infighting, and the infighting on the fascist side of things is so much more real than leftist infighting. Leftist infighting, that mostly happens on Twitter. The left is out of power. Usually, that's the form that leftist infighting takes, so like petty squabbles. Right wing infighting is the Republican Party tearing itself to shreds, and this is an opportunity to hasten that process. So I think they should do it. Democrats should encourage that. Republicans should keep doing what they're doing, tearing apart their own party, because that actually seems to be making people's lives better. As much as, you know, having the Republican Party at all is bad, them tearing themselves apart is good, because eventually that means we won't have a Republican Party. We would have either just the Democratic Party, but that wouldn't last very long. We'd probably have a different party come up pretty soon. And that's when the floodgates open for good things to be possible. You know, granted, it's going to start in the form of just liberal tweaks around the edges, but when there's no longer a fascist party in the picture, that creates a much more stable political grounds for progressives to take the forefront of the political discourse. Even like, you know, we've seen how prominent Bernie Sanders is in the political discussion now, talking about a 32-hour work week. Imagine how much more room progressives would have to breathe if there was no like substantial threat from the Republican Party. Imagine how far to the left we would be able to push the Democratic Party from the inside if we didn't really have the Republicans to contend with, at least not as much. Because I will remind you guys, vote blue no matter who goes both ways. If you can get a progressive on the ballot, then you get to say no, vote blue no matter who to the Democratic Party for once. You know, now it's not just them beating you over the head with it. You get to say it right back. Anyways, that's me extrapolating pretty far in the future. Better things are possible, theoretically. But first we need to, well, I mean, one of those better things is a world without the Republican Party, and we should hasten that reality as much as possible. Anyways, I am actually going to raid somebody, because I think I saw, yeah, Lumiru is live. I'm gonna raid Lumiru. That's not how you spell it. That is how you spell that. And I will be back soon. Just look for the notification when I go live. I think that's how I'm going to play this from now on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the whole setup time and all that. And if you missed anything, if you want to check it out, be sure to check the VODs on YouTube. They're on a public playlist of unlisted videos. So.
But then you have this problem of who the fuck was it? Was it Ben Shapiro? The only time you should ever talk to a